guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, my name is Brianna Faith and I make fashion and lifestyle videos. Today we are going to be making a scrunchie that is sold for way too much money at Alo. It is sold for $12 for this scrunchie. That's ridiculous. So we're going to make our own, and we're not going to use a scrunchie because that seems way too complicated and just like I'm not that big of a fan of scrunchies to begin with, so why would I do that? I love Invisibobbles because I'm a curly haired gal, obviously. And these are really great for your hair if you have thicker hair, and they even make it for if you have really thin hair. So go check out Invisibobbles, not sponsored, obviously. And we're going to be making the tie that the scrunchie uses to go on an Invisibobble or whatever hair tie you prefer. What you're going to need for this DIY is some scrap fabric. I am using some fabric that I used from other DIYs and even from old clothing. So this is from a leotard, obviously. I just cut the bottom of it. This is perfect because it's literally in the shape that we're going to be cutting the rest of the material in, like so. Plus it's pretty stretchy, so it makes it a little bit easier for me to tie it up in a neat way. Plus it's Marvel, so yeah. Wait, is X-Men Marvel or is it DC? Dang it. I was going to be promoting Marvel and it's DC, guys. I feel like such an imposter here. Anyway, if you're excited about the new Marvel movie coming out, let me know down below. Moving on. Next I have this whimsical checkered print. If you want your fabric to be stretchy, just move it to the bias side of the fabric and it's going to create a natural stretch. This will make a cute little tie for Easter Sunday lunch, and I'm really excited about it because it's this beautiful baby pastel pink. And yeah, let's get into the DIY. For the first step, what you're gonna need to do is sketch out the shape that you would like to have for your tie. So first I'm gonna start off with this one because it's probably the easiest to use. If you have a bold pattern like this piece of fabric, I would recommend folding it inside out just to make it a little bit easier to sketch on. So as you can tell, this top part and the other side are not the same length. So if I fold it over, it's not going to be exactly symmetrical. But if I cared about that, I could make it symmetrical by simply folding it over like this and re-sketching out my line to be exactly the same. Next, after you sketch out your pattern, you're going to be using pins to make sure that the fabric stays together on both sides. The worst thing that could happen is you cut it out and the bottom part ends up not being lined up with the top, and you end up with some kind of weird shape that you can no longer use. Unless you create a seam allowance, it's going to be smaller than what you sketched out. So once it's pinned, you're going to take your scissors and cut off the excess fabric. If you are going to do it so you have to flip it back inside out, I would recommend leaving this much open, then flipping it and then top stitching it. Great, so there is my shape. When you tie it, it's going to look like so. Super cute. Next, we're just going to flip it inside out, which will be a little difficult. If you can't seem to get it inside out, what you can do is stick a safety pin on it to help it through, or even shove your pencil inside to help it through. So since this one was used for a leotard, the sides were a little bit too thick for the center part. So I found this out as I was flipping it inside out afterwards. So I ended up flipping it back and cutting off the parts that were on the sides. And then for the middle part, I took my seam ripper and seam ripped the middle to take this part fully off. And now I am hand sewing a ladder stitch. So a ladder stitch is a really simple hand stitch that makes an invisible stitch to finish off closing sections just like this one. So what you're doing is going across and then up and then back over to create a ladder. I do to close it up. People do this differently to end it. I go back a little bit and back through the other side to create a knot with the other stitches. Folding it in half and then folding it over once more just to create a more symmetrical pattern. For this one, I'm doing more of a rounded pointed tie. I'm going to pin this together so that I can cut it out with confidence that all pieces of the fabric are together. What's going to make this one harder now, since I started cutting, I just realized I'm going to have 4 pieces of fabric because I didn't do it on the fold. Okay. So this one's going to be more on the fold to make it a lot easier, guys. Since I cut it at an angle, you see we ran into another problem, but I'm just gonna keep it real here and keep this in the video because this is what happens when you start new sewing projects and you don't exactly know how they're gonna turn out. I can either cut them apart or I can just pivot them like this and sew them together with this little piece of triangle here. What I'm gonna do is just cut them. I'm just cutting these little triangles off. Again, we're going to be turning these inside out. So I'm just going to flip these inside out now. Here's our 2 pink pieces. As you can see, I missed a little bit here with the sewing machine, so I'm just going to go back and lattice stitch it a little bit. But you can see a little bit of the black threading, which I didn't think you would be able to, but since this is a pretty thin piece of fabric, you can. So if that bothers you, what you're going to need to do is use a pink piece of thread, or maybe even white would look better. But since this is going in my hair, I don't think people are going to be like, oh my goodness, you used black thread on pink. So it's not the end of the world. Before I lost battery of the camera, I had just flipped this inside out and messed up the sides a little bit. I just flipped it back inside out and fixed the sides, went around it a little bit closer. So next we're going to go in and do more ladder stitching. The most difficult thing is this fabric that I'm using. It's so thin that it is literally destroying the fabric just putting the needle into it, which is crazy. So I would definitely recommend thicker fabric. For sure. I am trying to avoid the ladder stitching because it is causing me problems with this thin fabric. So what I'm doing is using my machine and going to back stitch over this to create the center. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this little tie DIY and that you found it helpful, because you can make whatever color combinations you want, patterns, anything, and you get to save money because this didn't cost me literally anything at all. Please give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, subscribe to this channel for more videos from me, and go follow my blog maddieautumnfaith.com for more fashion and lifestyle advice. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!